Say off. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome to our Wednesday webinar. This is our Ben Kinney Company's Wednesday webinars. My name's V.A. Williams. I'm the Director of Growth for Ben Kinney Companies. And we do these every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday, every blue moon. I actually do go on vacation. I know it's a shocker. But almost every Wednesday we do these at noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern time. And these are really for you, real estate agents. These are for you. These are really in the weeds, tactical, super specific, every single week on, I love that someone just called me DJ Via. Ozzy's my favorite today. Yes, DJ Via. Didn't you know? Didn't you know? These are in the weeds, specific, tactical topics every single week, right? To help your business. So today I'm so excited, and we're going to launch into today's. We've got national social media expert Katie Lance on. But first, a few things. Number one, we've had some incredible Wednesday webinar guests lately. So this is what I'm loosely calling our phase 2 series. So last week we had Mike Perna on showing us how he got 48 listings in June and almost 300 this year. I think what's interesting about Mike is that's in Detroit, Michigan. And for all of you guys who may or may not be aware, Michigans have one of the strictest quarantines in the nation. So to come out of that and to get out of the gate at 48 listings, he just walked us through what they said during quarantine, what they're saying now. He role played with me 3 different times. In fact, we transcribed those scripts. And for everybody who was a part of those webinars, they just got an email yesterday on every single script that he went over, just as a gift to you. The week before, we had Sue Adler, who's just incredible. She's been the #1 agent in New Jersey since 2012, I think. And she's brought on 60 something listings, averaging 1.1 million each. And I wanted Sue on because New Jersey's been really hard hit, unfortunately, with COVID. And I wanted to show what she's doing. It's just amazing things. She also role played. She gave us scripts. She gave us headlines. It was super tactical stuff. The week before, in our #1 most viewed Wednesday webinar, we have almost 10,000 of you who viewed it. Sarita Dua came on and got in the weeds, step by step, how she represents buyers to win multiple offers. She submitted about a week or 2 prior to that webinar, she had submitted 7 offers over the weekend and won all 7. And she walked us through. I didn't let her escape without drilling down either. So all of those you can view. We have a Ben Kinney Company's leadership mentoring group. You can, Hattie can post the link and you can ask to be a member. Everyone's approved and you can see all the replays there. You can also find us on YouTube, of course. So I just wanted to let you know. Next week, we have a power panel. We have 3 top buyers agents in the nation, and they're going to dissect how to crush the buyer consult right now. What are they saying? What are the expectations they're laying? What are the scripts they're using? What's their general outline? Everything you need to know about the buyer consult with 3 agents actively in the field, living it and breathing it right now, right? Every single one of them has, between 5 and 15 active buyer clients, right? So this isn't just necessarily the leaders. These are the agents that are doing the work, right? That's really important to me. So wanted to kind of plug that. Last plug before we get to the amazing Katie Lance, Empire Building Podcast. What is near and dear to my heart is my podcast, of course, that I launched with Wendy Papazan, Sarah Reynolds, and Seychelle Van Poel. And Monday is when we drop new episodes. So 2 days ago, Monday, we just dropped the first episode in our 3-part hiring process series. So we walk through all the steps of the hiring process. Super important. It's kind of like one of those things you're going to want to listen to over and over. We also tell some fun war stories in there. So please listen to that. It's called Empire Building. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, it tends to be Apple or Spotify we're finding. Type in Empire Building and click subscribe. Secondly, I am in love with Ben Kinney's last 2 podcast episodes. Win, Make, Give is the name of his podcast. And his last 2 episodes are on influence and persuasion. And I love them. So good. So there's part 1 and part 2. I would definitely start with part 1. And I can't recommend that enough. It's Win, Make, Give. Same thing. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, just type that in. So all of that said, we have the amazing, incredible national social media expert, Katie Lance. Katie, welcome, and thank you so much for spending an hour with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I am excited. It's going to be fun.
Good. So what should we know, Katie, about you in order to really understand how credible you are? Because to me, you have been one of the nation's, really to me, you're the real estate social media expert, probably number one in my book, in the entire nation. And I've seen you speak, I've seen you teach. I've been a friend as well. You graciously, we went out to dinner in, remember trips?
Yes,
Remember in New York?
In January. It feels like a lifetime ago.
January, 10 years ago. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your book and just, establish that before we launch in?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, again, thank you for having me here today. I'm really honored. What a fantastic group and organization. Obviously, Ben Kinney's group and just this fabulous Facebook group we're broadcasting into right now. And just, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So, for those of you who don't know me, I run a social media marketing firm out in the San Francisco Bay Area. We've been in business about 8 years, and really our focus is to help agents and brokers get smarter about social media. That's really kind of our number one passion. We don't think that social media is necessarily the silver bullet. We don't think it's the end all and be all, but when done right, it can make a huge difference in your business. And so that's really what our focus is. I wrote a book a few years ago, Get Social Smart. We also run our Get Social Smart Academy, which is a great membership site. We've got a lot of great agents and brokers across the world who are part of that. And before I ran my own company, I worked for Inman for many, many years. I think that's probably when I first met you. So been in the real estate industry a long time. And, at the risk of sounding corny, I love this industry. I love that for most people, buying and selling a home is still one of the biggest moments of their life. And we really love this intersection between social media and real estate. And just excited to dive into some things today because, heck, 2020 was not the year we expected it to be.
No, and I'm really, really excited to hear from you today. And I'm just gonna let you, run with it, Katie. And I just want you to focus on your content. I'll monitor the chat field. And if anyone has any questions, I'll wait for the appropriate time to break in. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect.
All right.
Awesome.
It's all yours, my friend.
All right. Awesome. I'm going to see if I can share my screen as well.
Should be able to. If not, then let me know.
Let's see. There we go. I think it worked. Let me know if you guys can't see that or not, but I think I think we came through.
Building your social media strategy in uncertain times.
Exactly. So, so again, thank you so much. I've got, a presentation here today, but again, if there's any questions that any of you have as you're watching live, I know we've got a lot of you who are watching over on Zoom, a lot of you watching on Facebook, feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll just try to get to as many as we can. Feel free to interrupt me via at any point if you see something burning, and then we'll take some time at the end.
Actually, I'm going to do that now because you just reminded me. So if any of you right now are watching Facebook Live and it's 12:09 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you want to interact, you should hop over to Zoom. Hattie's going to post the link in comments. You should hop over to Zoom. We don't monitor Facebook Live while we're live. So I just wanted to encourage you. You still have time to hop over. If you're watching this on replay, sorry.
It's all good. Well, I'm excited about this topic. This is, I would say, out of everything I'm teaching and speaking and talking about, this is really the top topic, I should say, that I'm talking about. And obviously when everything kind of started happening in March, I think all of us were a little surprised and kind of thinking like, oh, well, this will just be a few weeks and then we'll kind of go back to normal. And, it's uncertain times, obviously. And a lot of us, depending on where you're at in the world, some of our worlds have opened up. Some of us are not as, out and about. And in addition to a global pandemic, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now. And that's kind of the elephant in the room. Here in the US, it's an election year, as we all know. We've been dealing with lots of things in the news in terms of social injustice. And it can be a really confusing time, to be really candid, as far as, can we talk about business, and what can we say, and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So my goal today is to give each of you some tangible tips and tools and ideas. I'm going to give you lots of resources and links and examples. So if you are at a place where you can take notes, now's a great time to take out a pen and paper and take some notes. I know this is being recorded as well. And hopefully we'll be able to give you guys some really great ideas and some inspiration as we move forward. So as I mentioned a second ago, I do run a social media company. Our focus is helping agents and brokers get smarter about social media. You can see a few pictures of myself and our family up there. My husband, Paul, is also my business partner. So partner in life, partner in business. We have two handsome boys who, full disclosure, are in the other room. We're still on summer break, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. That
just makes it real, Katie. Makes it real. Kids and dogs right now, you know?
Kids and dogs, exactly. We're in it for the long haul, exactly. We have kids and cats, so, yeah. the cat might bust in. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Like I said, what we're going to talk about today are some ideas and some tips on some things you can share on social media. I've got some great examples and ideas, some do's and don'ts. We're also going to talk a lot about video today, video and Facebook Live, which is not a new topic by any means, but especially right now as we are social distancing, as we are still being super careful with who we interact with and who's in our bubble and how we do business. I really think video and Facebook Live, like we're doing right now, this is a little bit meta, is more important than ever before. So we're going to talk a lot about that. I've got some resources and tools, and then we'll take some time for Q&A. And I found this quote a couple days ago. I thought I would share with you guys. I thought this is inspiring because it's all about, there's a lot of challenges happening right now. And I thought, I like this. It just says, challenges are what makes life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. So I thought that was inspiring to share with you guys. I also want to mention my handle. I'm at Katie Lance, basically everywhere on social media. And so if you're active on Facebook or Instagram specifically, that's kind of where I'm spending the most time these days. If you get inspired during this, I would love if you take out your phone, take a picture, tag me, and connect with me on social media. After this webinar, after this Facebook Live, I'm going to be hopping onto social media, and I'd love to connect with you and see if there was something that really, really resonated with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, the first thing I want to say is be helpful. Who needs the most help? And I think this is a really important thing to think about when we think about social media. And sometimes we're not sure what to say, what to post. So one big tip I would share with you is instead of it being about you and what you're posting or what's going on in your life, is there an opportunity to maybe shine the light on somebody else? And, I know right now, obviously across the world, there's lots of businesses that are starting to open up, but there's a lot of businesses, a lot of things in our local community that are hurting. And so is there an opportunity to reach out to your favorite local baker, or your favorite salon, or your favorite coffee shop, or your favorite lender or stager, or all these people? One of the things I love most about real estate is you guys know your local community better than anybody, right? And so really thinking about, are there 5 or 10 local businesses you could support financially? But more importantly, when it comes, as far as the social media conversation, is there an opportunity to highlight them? And when you can highlight those individuals, it does a few things. First of all, they feel fired up that you are highlighting them. That's a great positive thing to do. You're building a relationship with that other business owner. It's a great piece of content for your audience. And it's also a way to grow your social media. If you felt like, if you've been on social media for a long time like I have, and you feel like, gosh, how do I grow my sphere without spending a whole lot of money? Highlighting someone else is one of the easiest ways to do it, because 9 times out of 10, when you do a post and you tag them, they're going to share it out, right? Or they're going to interact with you. So, and only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have. It's another great quote.
You know what that reminds me of, Katie?
Yeah.
I was just listening to Andy Stanley, my favorite podcast, besides my own and Ben Kinney's. My third favorite podcast in the world is Andy Stanley's Leadership Podcast, and I was listening to it this morning. I have to listen to them on replay because I literally pounce on the new episodes when they come. And you know what they said? They said, actually, most businesses are narcissistic. And in reality, what most businesses should do is make their clients and their customers the hero, not the business. And what you just said reminded me of that, right? I was like, gosh, that's true. Where you're just edifying your stakeholders and you're highlighting your people around you and not yourself. I just love that. So that's interesting timing.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of taking yourself out of the equation, and highlighting
Yeah.
other people, making them the hero. I love that. I might have to borrow that. That's a good that's a good analogy. And this kind of goes into my next point, in that it doesn't always need to be about business. Kindness counts. Being in this business for the long haul, that's what it's all about, right? Be human, and it's amazing what will come back to you. And I know, I would imagine a lot of you probably back in March or April probably sent out a lot of emails and texts and phone calls. You probably called your clients or prospects and said things like, how are you? How are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? Well, now it's the end of July. It's almost August. Our kids are going back to school pretty soon. It's a great time to check in with people again. And, I know we're talking about social media. So, of course, you can check in with people using Facebook Messenger or DMs, but there's also just using the phone. It is a phone.
What?
I know.
The what?
Mind blowing, right? It's like the best app that we have.
Weird.
Crazy. But just reaching out, and, I find myself doing that, as much as possible. Just thinking, gosh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while. Just check it in. How are you doing?
Yeah.
And I really think people do appreciate that. And it is amazing what comes back to you. Obviously, being reassuring, being calm, that's important. So let's go ahead and dive into some do's and don'ts. Because again, there's a lot happening in our world right now. So a few do's: be mindful, be helpful. Like we talked about earlier, highlight others, be an encourager. One thing that's really powerful, and I see Ben Kinney do this a lot, is sharing his own journey, right? Sharing his own story, your struggles, your ups and downs. And I think there's something really, really powerful about that, because when we can be a little vulnerable, and kind of peel back the curtain, so to speak. And maybe it's something funny, maybe it's self-deprecating humor, something crazy our kids did, or something, whatever it might be. That's one of the ways we can be really relatable. And we all know we do business with people we know, like, and trust and relate to, right? That relatability, I think, is so important. Also, things like resources for keeping kids busy. I know a lot of us were sending things out, early on during this pandemic, but kids are still home for a lot of us. So keeping kids busy, resources are great. Also sharing good news. I find that I have to kind of take the news in small doses. And one of my favorite sites recently, it's on the screen right here. This might be a good link to drop in at some point in the chat. It's goodnewsnetwork.org, goodnewsnetwork.org. Totally free, and it's nothing but good news. So, lots of happy videos and happy content and just some positivity.
I love that.
Yeah, it just sometimes the news gets to be a little much. And again, sharing things like your new routine, being respectful, being a good listener. I think it's important. People ask me, should I talk about politics? Should I talk about this and that? I don't think there's anything wrong with having an opinion, with taking a stand for certain things. But I also think there's a really fine balance in being professional, being respectful, and understanding that you are your own brand, but you also represent your brand, right? Whether it's your office, your franchise. And I always say, we're leaving like these digital breadcrumbs, all of our posts. How will this look a year from now, 5 years from now? Our kids, grandkids, our great-grandkids will know more about us than we ever knew about our grandparents. So just keeping that in mind. And so that kind of leads me into, as far as a few don'ts, I think one of the biggest things right now I just would caution everybody on is we want to be really careful about what we're sharing, especially any articles, videos we read. I know it's easy to read something on our news feed and we go, oh my gosh, I got to share that. And I've been guilty of this, where you just read the headline, you don't really read the whole thing. And I would just encourage you, before you share anything, we have a responsibility. We're all leaders in our community. Read the article, watch the full video, and also see what's the source. Is it a reputable news source? Look at the URL. That's also a great tip. If I'm not quite sure, look at the URL, make sure it's really a valid, news organization. And we want to be careful of things that we get from friends of friends. I'm seeing this a lot lately. I don't know, Via, if you're seeing this too, but I'm seeing a lot of people who are like copying and pasting things, and it's like copied from a friend of a friend, a second cousin's mother's brother.
Yeah.
And again, I know a lot of people have the right heart, but we just want to be careful, right? We want to be careful where our sources are coming from.
Yeah. And you know what, Katie, a lot of our audience right now, our viewers and our listeners are real estate agents, right? That's who most of you are. And we are all typically have a personality behavioral style where, let's admit it, everybody, we're skimmers.
Yes.
I am so guilty. How many articles have I shared where, to be honest, I've only read the headline or like maybe the first paragraph.
I've been guilty
I like
too.
force myself now. I force myself to slog through an article before I share it. Yeah.
Totally. And I also will take advantage of some of the tools available on social media. Like with Facebook, you can save articles or save things, so if I read something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to share that, but I'll try to save it first. That way I can go back and read it or watch it. And I do think
Katie, I just learned how to do this on Instagram. I'm so embarrassed to admit this whole time. I didn't know that little bookmarky thing.
Yeah, isn't that great?
You can click it to save posts on Instagram.
Yes.
My assistant right now is looking at me going, are you freaking you should see her face right now. She's like, are you kidding me, you old woman, that you did not know this? No, I didn't know that.
It is a great tool. Yeah. For those of you active on Instagram and the feed, if you don't know
She's
this.
She's disgusted at me right now.
Under each post, there's like a little flag, and that little flag is the save button. It's awesome. I love that.
I can't be the only one who didn't know that. Did anyone else not know that?
You're not, I'm sure you're not.
No one's responding on chat. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
They're busy. They're taking notes.
I'm the only one. I'm literally the only one that didn't know that. Okay, great. Good.
It's all good. It's all good.
Perfect.
The other thing I want to just mention that's on your screen here is, I think when it comes to being I saw some chat come through, so maybe people are agreeing with you.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Oh, good.
Keep going. Sorry, I did not mean to derail.
It's all good. So I think we also want to be careful just with things like funny jokes, funny memes. I know there's a lot of funny stuff that's out there. And again, I just think we just want to try to use good judgment. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who are scared, sick. There's some real scary stuff, that's happening. So one tip I would give you is, instead of sharing some sort of cartoon or joke, which, could be funny, but sometimes could be misconstrued, is turn the joke on yourself. If there's something sort of self-deprecating, and I've done this where I share something crazy, like we have a cat who's, kind of bananas. He'll climb the screens. He'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. So, sharing stuff like that. Or one day I walked out of the house with 2 different pairs of shoes on. It's ridiculous, right? Like just silly stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can kind of turn the joke on ourselves. So
okay, I'm cringing because anyone here who follows me on Instagram knows that literally how I've gotten through COVID is by memes. So I've been posting memes on my stories. Now, granted, I curate them well. I feel like I'm not offensive, but
yours are really good. That's the key. You're thoughtful with what you're putting out there.
I'm very careful, but there's still, any humor could be controversial, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. But I have noticed that. And I do think that you're a great example because you're curating it and you're doing so in a thoughtful way. So I love that.
Okay. Well, you kind of have to say that. So hopefully it's really okay.
It is.
You would tell me if it wasn't, right? I trust you.
I would.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe not on a Facebook Live, but I would tell you.
Later. All of a sudden you see me not posting memes. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. So that's a good transition. I wanted to give you guys some ideas for content. And this is actually a free download we have on our website. So I think I sent this link over to Hattie. Maybe Hattie can drop this link in the chat. This is something called our content grid. Any of you who've been following me for a long time probably already have a copy of this. But if you don't, I wanted to just share it with you guys because it's something we've had thousands and thousands of agents download over the years. And it's basically just a simple spreadsheet where you can print it up. It's got about 30 content ideas. It's somewhat generic, so just about anybody in any market could use it, but of course you can customize it however you'd like. But the idea is when you're sitting down and you're thinking about what to post, what to create, what to schedule, and you're stuck, you've got some ideas, right? So things around local real estate, national real estate, local and community, personal interest, home and design, things like that. So I wanted to make sure I shared that because I know sometimes it's like, wait, I need some fresh ideas. And especially if you don't have listings, or you're new to real estate, you're trying to get a sense of some content ideas. Hopefully this will inspire you. So the link's just on the screen there. It's just kicking that up.
Hattie just put it on Zoom and she'll also put it on Facebook Live as well. That's great. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Hattie. Appreciate it. All right, so let me just share a couple great examples here, some things we're seeing. I just saw this particular post from Kathleen Garden come through my feed just I don't know, recently, a couple days ago, I just saw this come through and I love this. She did this great post about embracing diversity and building stronger communities. And I thought this is a really great example of sharing something that is relevant, meaningful, but also really thoughtful. And it's not just a graphic, but it's a graphic along with her own personal thoughts, you know, and opinions. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with having an opinion. A lot of times it's just how you say something, right? It's like what we learned as kids. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Which I think is important. And then I've got a few other great examples on the screen here. My good friends up in Seattle, the Divas, they do a really great job on their blog. If you're looking for a great example of some really great relevant local blog content, one of the things I love is they will pull local resources. Like, for example, they put together a small business guide where they pulled a bunch of information about small business loans and how to help small businesses. And instead of sharing a bunch of those links, they kind of curated it, like you just said, via of curating content, curated it all together and wrote a really thoughtful blog post that was relevant and helpful for their community. And so that's I think something that, you know, just about anybody can do, which is really great. And then another good example, a good friend of mine, Shannon Milligan, she's an agent out in the Virginia area. And she wrote a post probably kind of early on during this whole pandemic. And it was really this beautiful post about how, as an agent, you know, imagine you are like flying a plane and you're trying to fly a plane through a really terrible storm and you're trying to land the plane.
I read that one. That got viral. That was great. Yeah.
Yes. And this post, when it ended up going viral, it got like a couple hundred shares. And I wanted to mention it here today because one of the reasons why I think this post went really viral is because she's sharing an analogy. She's sharing a story. And so when we think about our content, you know, we can share facts and facts are great. There's always a place, of course, there's always a place for facts and information. But what tends to get people to not just like and comment something, but actually share something is when we're sharing something that kind of tugs at the heartstrings a little bit, right? Whether it's a story, whether it's an analogy. And you might even think about this as you talk about, you know, some of your clients. If you've got listings right now, and I know a lot of you have listings for a lot of places in the U.S., the market's really strong in many areas. For a lot of people, they're experiencing like the spring market in the middle of July, right? Yeah. And so it's one thing to share the facts of a listing, but maybe there's an opportunity to reach out to your clients and say, hey, you know, when you moved here, like, what was the best thing about this house? What did you love the most? Like, tell me that story. Or like, tell me the story of that kitchen remodel. Like, what's the backstory there? And if you can kind of pull out some of those stories and share those on social media, that's what's really going to be engaging. And I saw a couple questions early on about engagement, and that's one way to really engage people in your content.
Katie, are you open to sharing this slide deck?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We'll email that to you guys who registered.
Yeah, no problem. I can send that out later.
Thank you. Sure.
So, you know, now I really feel like it's not really the time for marketing as usual. And again, every market's different. So always double check with your manager, double check with your local association if you're ever unsure of anything. But, you know, doing things like sending text or calls, obviously checking in on people like we talked about. I think we want to be careful as far as door knocking or leaving flyers. Again, every market's different, but we just kind of want to be careful and respectful of that, which is another reasons why social media is great during this time. We're also seeing a lot of people really leverage Facebook groups. I mean, you know, we're broadcasting right now within a Facebook group, but a lot of folks are running great local Facebook groups, or they're participating in groups as a way to help people get their questions answered. You might run a Facebook group maybe for your local moms group, or if you're part of Rotary Club, or your kids are in Little League. Like, there's all kinds of opportunities, and groups are one of these things where, you know, you're not going to get a ton of business tomorrow from running a group, but building a community where you've got other folks in your community that are part of that can be really powerful. And then the other thing in terms of just marketing as usual, I just would caution anybody who's using any kind of automated service with social media. It's really tempting to, you know, just sort of automate everything because we think, okay, I've checked the box, I'm done. I did my social media, but, you know, part of social, you know, as you know, Via, is it's social, right? And it's important that you show up, that you're there, that you spend some time being intentional, connecting with people. And to be honest, a lot of times it's less about what you're posting and more about taking time to really authentically interact with people, you know, and engage with people in a meaningful way. So I promised you I was going to talk about video. We're going to talk about video because I think now more than ever is the time to get on camera. And honestly, probably all of us have been getting on camera with Zoom, probably more than ever before. And it's one of those things, when it comes to video, a lot of us, we don't like how we look or we don't like how we sound. We're not sure how to do it. So then we don't do it. And I had a good friend of mine a few years ago, very lovingly remind me, she was like, Katie, that's how you look. And that's how you sound. So you got to get over it. Yeah. And so I just will lovingly tell anyone that who might be just still a little on the fence with video. There's a few things I think you can do that will help build your confidence. And some of these things are on the screen here. Starting with just one-to-one video where you take out your phone, you record, some short videos that aren't going to go public. These are videos you might send to your mom, your sister, your best friend. It might just be hey, I'm thinking about you, right? I just want to check in. I miss you. I love you. How you doing? First of all, when you send those type of videos to people that you love and you care about, they're going to be surprised, especially if you never do anything like that. I think that's a really thoughtful, caring thing, and it'll help you get more comfortable on video. You might also do that with, clients or prospects. Obviously, you're not going to say, I love you, but you're going to reach out and check in with them, see how they're doing, right? You could send videos through Facebook Messenger. Some people use BombBomb. That's a great tool for email marketing. You could send videos through texting if it's a short video. And then getting on camera. The way you get better about Facebook Live is you do more Facebook Live. And the first few times you do it, it's a little awkward. You're not quite sure what button to push. I know we're using Zoom right now. Zoom is great for Facebook Live or Be Live. I use Be Live for a lot of our Facebook Lives. Both of those are paid tools. You don't have to use those for Facebook Live, but they are nice, especially right now if you're doing content where you do want to shine the light on somebody else. You do want to highlight your lender, your stager, your photographer, your favorite coffee shop owner, your
favorite social media expert.
There you go. Exactly. Right. Woo woo. So you can use those tools. And of course, Instagram stories, another great way to get more comfortable on camera, way to kind of share your behind the scenes. And obviously we're all using Zoom quite a lot these days.
Yeah. Can I just add to that a little bit? So stories has been really helpful because here's what I learned the arc of stories are. And we're talking about Instagram and Facebook too, but really it's Instagram. Is what happens is you get used to your voice because a lot of the times it's third person filming, like you're not selfie filming a lot. You're filming out. And then you get used to your voice. And after 6 or 12 months, you kind of get rolling. Then you find yourself, you do more selfie videos, right? Yeah. And then over time, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you don't take yourself as seriously, I guess. Yeah. And you just it's better acceptance of who you are. And I just don't think there's any way to get comfortable on video without doing a lot of video. The only hack is to do it. It's just one of those things. And then, you just have to start that 10,000 hours somewhere. It's probably the number one biggest objection I get from people is I don't want to see myself on video. And they spend hours prepping and you just kind of have to jump in and start doing it. And the more you do it, the more you get comfortable.
I 100% agree. And I think a lot of people get hung up on what app do I need or what equipment? And you just need your phone. Just start with that's it, really. I mean, I could tell you all these different things. You really don't. And I would say with Instagram stories, I think you make a great point. The more you start doing those selfie videos, especially with Instagram stories, because here's the good news. They disappear in 24 hours.
24 hours. So the pressure's off. You feel no pressure.
Off. Yeah. But you do get comfortable. There's something, it's almost like a muscle. And I totally agree with you.
It's a really good way to describe it. I like that.
Yeah. And this is a perfect transition because most people retain.
I knew that, not.
Exactly. We're on the same page. Most people retain 95% of the message in a video compared to only 10% of what they read in text. We have this very short attention span. So, again, obviously so important to get on video. And I'm going to share a couple examples here of that and some other great content. Just some other great content ideas of what to post. We saw my good friend up in Tacoma. She runs movetotacoma.com, Marguerite Martin. She runs a great blog. She's got a great podcast as well. I can tell we've got some podcast people here. So she's got a great podcast. And one of the things I think she did really well is she really pivoted when it came to her content with all of this. She kind of pivoted to reach out to local leaders in her area and interview folks about what's happening with COVID. And doing that, she actually made some really great connections, and she created a lot of great content, and now she's got some great resources on her site, which is awesome. A couple other examples here. One of my good friends, who's part of our Get Social Smart Academy, he runs a Facebook group in the San Diego area, and he reached out to me recently. He's like, "Hey, my business is like exploding," and I'm like, "That's awesome." And I asked him where a lot of it is coming from. He's like, "Most of it is coming from our Facebook group." And so I kind of asked him a little bit about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I said, well, are you talking about business in there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I share my listings, but the key is that's not all he talks about." Right? Like he did something like he did this whole giving pantry in his neighborhood. He's also reached out to other folks, other business owners, and asked them to contribute content. And so he's got a really good system of having some rules and parameters, which I think are important, when it comes to groups, but also just being really valuable, and being, and also getting in there, answering questions, things like that.
Katie, are you seeing more success with real estate agents doing real estate groups or more just like local groups?
Generally more local groups. Okay. Yeah. Community groups. We've also seen a lot of agents create private groups just for their clients as well, which is something that's been kind of fun to see crop up. I've seen a lot of folks in our academy have what's called a VIP group or an MVP group just for their clients. And it's kind of interesting because, once you've been in this business a long time, it's hard to keep in touch with people like meaningfully over the course of time. And so, kind of creating a private group where they can love on their clients and, it's kind of like you're bringing them together, right?
That's actually my idea of the webinar so far. That is an awesome idea because you just described an opt-in group. Like, email marketing is like outbounding. Yeah. And they're not really choosing to receive it. But the minute someone joins, even if they're invited, the minute they join a Facebook group, they're opting in. That's really smart.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My pleasure. I find it's a great way. What a lot of people are doing is at the end of a transaction, they are saying something like, I would love to invite you to be a part of my VIP group, my VIP client group. And that way you can get to know some of the other great clients we've worked with. It's a great networking opportunity for you if that's something you're interested in. Yeah. That's also the place where we share, I'll share, updated information about the community and events and things like that. So,
well, referrals. So you can get this whole group of people saying, "Hey, who's got a good painter? Who's got a good window cleaner?" And I mean, that's just huge. Gosh, I love that. Thank you.
Especially since at the end of a transaction, like if you've done your job, you are like their new best friend. They love you, right? So that's a great opportunity to kind of continue that relationship, so to speak. Another great example on the screen here, one of my good friends, Linda Hopkirk, she's out in Arkansas, and I saw this on her page recently, and it's this idea of the drive-ins, and I had to share this because we've been going to the drive-in a bunch as a family, and I feel like there's drive-ins are coming back, right? It's sort of like this resurgence, and the thought here is, again, is there an opportunity to share stuff that's relevant for families, that's relevant for your local community? So just kind of having an eye open for what's happening in your local community, I think is a great thing to kind of think about. All right, so I'm going to kind of fly through these next few slides here because I want to share some tips as far as getting on camera. As we said, it is a little bit of a muscle, and so there's a few logistics that do make a difference, especially for things like Facebook Live, but also video content in general. Trying to get a quiet space sometimes can be a little challenging. So it might be your backyard. It might be as you're going for a walk, which is why I love earbuds because they've got a mic and it's easy to kind of do a kind of a walk and talk. If you're inside, as far as lighting, you want to, like right now I'm facing a window. I do have a light set up, but you want to try to face light versus have light behind you because then your face will be really dark. And then I'm a huge believer in repurposing videos. So if you do a Facebook Live, download that Facebook Live. You can repurpose that, put that over on YouTube if you'd like. Get it transcribed, have it turned into a blog post. It could be a little snippet you promote on Instagram stories today, and you could promote the replay a couple days later on Instagram stories. It could be a couple tweets over the course of a few days. And this idea of working smarter, not just harder, I think is really, really key. So I also want to just give a couple quick tips for when you're on camera, whether it's Facebook Live or video content. I don't necessarily believe in being scripted, but I believe in being prepared. And just having a sense of what it is you're going to talk about. So the beginning of any video or Facebook Live, you want to smile, I know that seems silly, but so often I'll see someone do a video or Facebook Live, especially the first few times, and again, it's a muscle, but usually the first few times there's like this, are we live? Right? We're like we're unsure, right? So you want to smile, just like, Vio was playing some music to get stuff going in the beginning, which I love. So introduce yourself. Who are you? What brokerage you're with? And what are you going to talk about? Are you going to give us a tour of a property? Are you going to give us, the 3 ways, a first-time homebuyer can buy their first house? Like, what is it you're going to talk about? Get into it, and then wrap it up. Have a call to action. What is 1 or 2 things you want people to do at the end? Do you want them to subscribe to your channel? Do you want them to comment below for more information? Do you want them to send you a direct message? Whatever it might be, pick 1 or 2. The biggest mistake I see is people usually give like 10 different calls to action at the end of a video. It's like, oh, you can email me, call me, text me. I'm on YouTube. I've got a Facebook page. Just keep it simple, right? Pick 1 or 2 things, but smile and have energy. That's key. I also want to give you guys some ideas for video content that are really relevant right now. So number 1, by and large, virtual open houses. I would imagine a lot of you are probably doing some virtual open houses. And again, it really depends on your market, but I think virtual open houses are something that we are going to continue to see grow, and people continue to do more and more of. We actually wrote a whole workbook on virtual open houses because we saw so many people doing virtual open houses, whether it's through Facebook Live, whether you're at the property, whether you're at home, literally doing it virtual. Yeah, have you been seeing a lot of people doing virtual open houses?
We're actually doing, we're going to do a Wednesday webinar. I can't remember when it is, Katie, in 3 or 4 weeks on them. And I've done some office presentations, and that's its own topic.
Yes.
The 20-second tip I will give everybody, having failed miserably at my first one, is they are harder than you think. They are deceptively hard. And number 2, we are not used to this, but unless they've registered on Zoom or unless you can get them to interact on Facebook Live, you're not going to get a lead. So the tricky thing with doing a virtual open house on Facebook Live is getting them to like something, getting them to comment. If they don't do any of that, then, and unless you have someone monitoring the live, you can see who's watching it live. You can't see who's watching it on replay. So they're tricky. They're not as simple as there's a lot of really good best practices, and we're going to dive into that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of trial and error for sure. And then just a few other things that are, we kind of talked a little bit about this idea of sharing from the heart, getting on camera, kind of sharing where you're at, some lessons that you've learned, how you can help serve your clients remotely. You may have done some sort of video or put out some sort of post back in March or April about how you're keeping your clients safe, but it's July, it's August. Things have changed. Some things have changed, some things haven't changed. So that's a great topic to be really relevant to your audience. Also videos around things that your buyers or sellers could be doing right now, because the reality is there are people, as we know, who need to buy or sell this summer or fall. So what are some things that they should be thinking about right now?
Oh, I love those. I love 4 and 5. That's great. Really great.
Yeah. And just being really honest with people. I mean, I think, a lot of people will say, oh gosh, should I tell people it's a good time to buy or sell? I'm not really sure. And I honestly think, instead of saying, hey, it's a great time to buy, it's a great time to sell, getting on camera and saying, look, if you do need to buy or sell right now, here's how we can help you. And here's some things that you can do right now. Right. And then of course, the last thing, like we talked about earlier, highlighting local businesses. What is great about Facebook Live is they don't have to be next to you. If you want to get them on camera, you can use a tool like Zoom or Be Live to interview your baker who's across town, or your lender who's in the next city. Or, like what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got a few more things here. Again, I'm going to send out my slides. So for anyone who misses anything, but in addition to video content, if you are more of a writer or you are thinking about blog content, I don't think blogs are dead by any means. I think blogs can also help you, help you get found. There's a lot of great reasons to have a blog. And if you enjoy writing, you might think about either writing on your own site if you have a blog, or there's great free resources. You could blog for free on LinkedIn. You can blog for free on a site called medium.com. And again, I would say keep it positive, keep it helpful. I wouldn't necessarily, blog just about your listings. I think there's a place for that, but really I would think more about, just like with the video content, are there things that you could share in terms of first-time home buyers, or should you rent or should you buy, or if I do need to buy or sell right now, what are some things to think about? And again, just like video content, you can repurpose that. You can share those to your email database, to Facebook, to Instagram. Copyblogger.com, by the way, that's point number 5 on the screen, is a great free resource if you're looking to be a better writer.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a great resource. I've actually been following them for years and years. And so that's a great resource.
Literally following them now. Anything about copywriting, I'm all over. You guys, if any of you guys are writers, just really quick, and are blogging or you want to, do video, because the hardest part of video is content. So if you're naturally writing stuff and you have a good blog, it is such an easy transition. I think one of the hardest parts is thinking about what to do on video.
Yes, absolutely. I started as a blogger and then moved into video, and now we kind of do both. We actually transcribe most of our videos because we know some people just don't want to watch a video. Some people would rather read, Totally. So we get that for sure. A few other tips, and I know we have questions, so I'm going to kind of go through this part kind of fast, but now is also a good time, if you do have a little bit of downtime right now, do a little bit of a self-audit, which the word audit can feel a little scary, but Google yourself, see what comes up. You would be probably amazed at stuff that you've set up years and years ago, and just make sure that your photos updated, your contact information's up to date. Don't be a secret agent. It also might be a time, if you've got something out there that you don't use, maybe you set up Twitter 10 years ago and there's nothing happening over there. The lights are on, but no one's home, right? Maybe it's an opportunity to deactivate it, or maybe make it private until you're ready to kind of tackle it. So that's another thing I'll just mention real quick. No pressure. We're not going to call anybody out. Smart. Some of these resources we already talked about: Zoom, Be Live, they're great for Facebook Live. I also use Asana for project management. We have a virtual team, so Asana is our lifesaver for kind of keeping us organized. Canva is my ride or die for graphic design.
Who here literally doesn't use Canva, right? Ride or die is so right. Yeah.
Totally.
Katie, do you remember that year they came to Inman as the new kid in the block? Remember that when they came up on stage in San Francisco, and now they're this is amazing, and now they're everything. So
right. Cool. Exactly. It is awesome. BombBomb, I love BombBomb for email, especially video email. Great tool, great guys up there. Video Shop is a great app. I will say you don't necessarily need an app. You don't have to edit your videos. Just start with where you're at. But if you do want to do a little bit of simple editing, Video Shop is my go-to. You can add music, you can add your logo, you can do simple cropping, things like that. And it's great for either Android or iPhone. And MailChimp is a super simple, easy place to start when it comes to email marketing. I know we're mainly talking about social media here, but I really would encourage you to build your database. And I know you guys are big believers in that too, because as much as I love social media, it is rented ground. We don't own it, but we own our database, and we own our content, which is another reason to create video and or blog content. That's stuff that you own that regardless of.
I'm stealing that. What did you say? Social media is rented ground. Yes.
Rented ground. We don't own it.
Gosh, that's good.
We don't own it. So
all the Katie Lance bombs today. That's so good.
Yep, it's rented ground. So quick recap, if any of you joined us late, this is the cliff notes of what we talked about. It doesn't need to be all about business. It's not the time for marketing as usual. Be a helper, be kind. Now's the time to get on camera, make the most of video and Facebook Live, and use this time to update your skills, hone your skills, update your platforms. So a couple little quotes, and then we'll open it up to questions. I want to be respectful of our time here. One of my favorite quotes is, I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan. I love that. I've always loved Zig. Don't count the things you do. Do the things that count. Don't count the things you do. Do the things that count. And I think especially right now, as everything just kind of going on in the world, and I think especially even with social media, I think sometimes we feel like, oh my gosh, I need to post, so many times a day. And it's really, there's a lot of noise out there. So how do we cut through the noise? I think we get more intentional. We think more about others than ourselves. We create some original content that's in our voice, that has our opinion, because no one's going to replace you, right? You somebody might, do a similar video, but it's not you. It's not your opinion. And that's honestly, on a side note, when you put out video content like what we're doing here, or blog content, or Facebook Live, or podcast content, you will attract the people that want to work with you.
That's right.
You know? And that's the difference between attracting business versus chasing leads. Just huge, huge difference.
And it's a long game, isn't it, Katie? But it's so important.
It is a long game, Vika. And look at this. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh my gosh. It is like I'm teeing you up today. Isn't that amazing?
I love it. We're
mind
like
melding.
Symbiotic relationship.
Weird.
Here. I love it. Social media is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So, you know, and everyone who's been on social media a long time, you get this, but I just want to, it's just a good reminder. You know, a lot of times we do stuff and we think, oh, I've been doing videos for 3 months. Nothing's happening. I'm doing Facebook Lives. I'm getting like 2 people to show up. And it's really easy to feel like it's not working, right? You do a virtual open house and you bomb. And you're like, this sucks. I'm never doing this again. I just would encourage you to stick with it, because if you have ever felt that, I can tell you from experience, it's like a snowball. And sometimes it takes 6, 8, 12 months of like putting in the work, just like if you're doing door knocking or any kind of traditional marketing, postcards, it takes time. You can't just send out 100 postcards and expect like, you know, a windfall to happen. It just doesn't happen that way. So just want to give you a little bit of encouragement. I had someone tell me recently, they're like, Katie, I feel like right now I'm a farmer and I'm planting the seeds and I'm planting the seeds. And I thought that was a beautiful analogy. So we're planting seeds, you know? So I want to open it up to questions, but I want to share with you guys a few links, and I know we'll drop some links. Hattie's got my links, so we'll drop it in the chat here. But if you guys are new to hearing me, if this is your first time hearing me, feel free to go to my website, katielance.com. I have hundreds of free resources over there. You can also email me. I know we have a lot of chatter happening, and I'm fairly certain we probably won't get to everything. So please email me. I check all my own email. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to answer any email that you guys have, or any questions that you guys have. So with that being said,
Katie, we've got a bunch of questions, and I have to say, I sort of, would it be okay if we started with my dad? Because it's pretty cool that my dad's watching. I'm like, hey, my dad just asked a question. Hey, Bill.
I love it.
I call him Bill Dad. His name's Bill. I call him Bill Dad.
Hey, Bill.
And I know how I would answer him. So I'm super curious to hear how you would, because I think a lot of people here feel the same way. He says, my business target is about 100 to 150 or so builders and developers, not the general public. Any thoughts for me?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, I think your content can reflect that. You know, I would say it would be great to see, I don't know if you're already doing this, Bill, but video content or Facebook Live content where you're, you know, addressing those issues that when you talk to builders, when you talk to developers, the questions that come up, the topics of conversation. I probably would think about the last, you know, who are the last like 6 to 12 builders or developers you've talked to and worked with, and what are the questions they've asked? What are the topics that have come up? Make a list. And I would say start creating content around that, because honestly, I don't see a whole lot of that. I would love to see that kind of content.
I think we need to do weekly bill bullets, Dad, and I'm going to help you with that. And we should do video of you every week with bill bullets, and we pick a day and we just start building your audience. I think we could have so much fun with that.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I will tune in.
Yeah, that'll be good. I've just made that decision for my dad. So I'm going to say we answered that live. Boom, done. Ada Man wants to know, Ada, we kind of love Ada because Ada seconds what I said. So anytime someone seconds what I said, we like them, about keeping the same Instagram account. Someone asked, I want your take on this because I did answer it, but someone said, Erin Vittoria said, hey, I have an Instagram account with about 700 followers. And I've been using my love of food and food photography and food blog and all that, but I post my day-to-day usually on that. So would you suggest I create a new Instagram account specifically for real estate, or should I start incorporating the real estate stuff onto my stories?
Good question. I mean, it's really kind of a personal decision. I can tell you what I personally have done. You know, I had a personal account on Instagram for a long time. I decided to turn my personal account into a business account, because when you have a business account, you can do advertising, you can schedule content, you can look at your insights. But that business account is still kind of 50-50, like 50% personal, 50% business. And I just find for a lot of folks having just one account where it's part personal, part business, you know, because you that's how we live our life, right? We wear multiple hats, you know, in real life. And it can also be a great way to connect connect you with other people as well. So I would probably say just have one. The only reason to really have two is if you just want to have one private account that's just like for close friends and family, and then have something more public for business. But every time you open a new account, it's just one more thing you got to manage.
Well, yeah,
so.
Katie, that's what I answered. And I agree wholeheartedly. I've got about 6,300 on my Instagram, and I'm gunning for 100K. Like I want to have 100K. That's my goal that I'm stating publicly on Instagram. But, for those of you in the know, in the inner circle, I've got a small private account for my real posts, but my Via is an influencer account. I've made it an influencer / business account for the same reasons. I want insights. I want post insights. I want engagement. And personally, what I do is I ask myself the focusing question to all of you. I say, why would if someone says, hey, I want X, so I'm going to go to Via's account, what would X be? And so what I'm working on currently, it's taking a while because it was pretty scattered, and I think it's okay to be scattered. You got to find your voice. But now I'm clear. I know what it is. If you want inspiration, motivation, if you want real estate, if you want irreverence, if you want a shot in the arm, if you want a behind the scenes of an empire builder, you're going to come to my account. Now that I'm getting clear on that, I'm starting to make sure my posts are more frequent and curated for that, so that I ask myself, okay, is that going to demonstrate people are coming to my account for these three things? Is that what I'm posting? Right. And then the stories become the behind the scenes to that. And also like puppy and kid pictures too. Right? Messy house stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you made a really good point of why are people coming to your account? Why are people intentionally coming to your account and then providing content for that? And it does take time. It takes time to kind of figure out what your voice is, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Donna Burns, actually there's a couple, but Donna Burns, a couple of people asked, like, when you're showcasing businesses, I'm assuming you need their permission behind that, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if I'm at a coffee shop and I have an amazing cup of coffee, I'll take that coffee. I'll take a picture. I'll search to see if they're on Instagram. I'll tag the heck out of them. I'll say like, oh my God, I'll take a selfie, and say, this is, if you want a great local cup of coffee, no offense, Starbucks, but Joe's coffee shop right here is amazing. So for something like that, I don't think you need permission. I think if you're going to do any kind of like videoing inside the business, like, more so than just a quick little selfie thing, it would probably be, probably good to ask, to double check. I do think there's a bigger opportunity if you're planning on really featuring them. Like we've seen some agents who once a month do like a featured Friday where they're featuring a local business, and they're doing it not just on a post, but they are doing a 10 or 15 minute Facebook Live, or they're doing a video that they've done on Zoom and then they're uploading it. So of course with that, you're going to reach out, you're going to schedule a time, you're going to make that connection. Takes a little bit more time, but that might be something to think about also.
We have so many questions, Katie. Okay. I'm just going to go fast so we can try to get them done.
Okay.
What is your take on non-organic and paid followers? I'm assuming on Instagram feels like that's where it's used the most. Simply curious because you can pay for followers.
Don't do it. It's a waste of money because they're usually not real. Way better to invest if you're going to spend money on anything, spend money on an app that's going to help you create better content. Pay to upgrade your Canva from free to paid. Or pay a video editor to help you edit some of your videos, but it's not worth it. Nine times out of 10, when you are paying for followers, unfortunately, they're from like a third world country, or they're bots. They're not real. And it's only going to hurt your engagement in the long haul. It'll look great because you're like, oh, I got 100,000 followers, but they're not going to be real. So don't do it.
Yeah. There's a social media expert that I'm visualizing in my head who's going around speaking, and I see their account and they have like, I can't remember, call it 100,000 people. And then they do a post and there's like 70 likes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but there is a ratio that you can kind of come to expect, right? Especially for our age group. I noticed millennials have a way higher ratio engagement, but you can kind of start seeing that. Someone asked why I wanted more followers. There's a bunch of reasons. I have a lot of platforms that I want to influence, right? And that's why I want a lot of followers. But the 10,000 mark's important because you can swipe up. Okay.
Yes.
How do I, there was one, how do they best, get listeners, or rather viewers, on a Facebook Live weekly show?
Okay, so a couple things. You have to promote your Facebook Live in advance. You can't just like go live. Okay, I keep hitting my microphone. Sorry. So you got to promote it in advance, a day or two in advance. Promote it on Facebook. If you're on other platforms, promote it on other platforms too. Let people know where you're going live, where they can find you, how they can tune in, what it is you're going to talk about. So you got to kind of be your own best promoter a day or two in advance. If you have an email database, email is one of the best ways to direct people to a Facebook Live. I would do an email a day before and an hour before you're live saying, I'm going live, tune in an hour, or even 10 minutes before, and let people know where you can tune in, what you're going to talk about, what's in it for them as well. So part of it is that pre-promotion. If you're using a tool like Zoom or Be Live, you could schedule it in advance, which is even better. And you'll get more people to typically show up, because instead of just saying, go to my Facebook page, you can actually send them the specific link of where you're going to be live. So as much pre-promotion as possible. Don't just think, well, I promoted it 3 days ago. 3 days ago is a lifetime ago. You got to do it a day or two in advance. And then the morning of, even 10 minutes before, like that pre-promotion, really, really important.
That we have so many questions, but we don't have that much more time. So I'm gonna kind of combine a bunch into one question.
Yeah.
And that is because there's a lot of questions, and I'm actually wondering what you're gonna say. Frequency of posting, and then also kind of that, what's the sweet spot ratio between, I don't know, personal and like say real estate in this case, because this is targeted towards real estate agents.
Yeah. So I think, as far as frequency, it really depends on the platform. You know, I mean, with Instagram stories, you're going to post multiple Instagram stories throughout the day. You're going to post maybe 5 to 10 or more Instagram stories kind of throughout the day. But that's an Instagram story, right? That's a little bit, for a Facebook feed, I would never say post 5 to 10 times a day, right? So every platform is a little bit different. I would say at a minimum, pick a couple days a week that you're going to post. Maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Get consistent. That I think makes a big difference. Nowadays, it's more about quality of content than quantity. It's better to post less, but post quality. I would also say if you're going to post any kind of original content like video, Facebook Live, podcast content, pick a day and be consistent. Like I heard you say, I think in the beginning that you've got a podcast. I think you said it was like every Monday that comes out.
We drop it every Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's huge when you can publicly tell people that consistency with when people know, when something's coming out is huge. As far as the ratio, again, it really kind of depends on the platform. For some of, for my Instagram, it's kind of 50-50. For my Facebook personal profile, it's more like 80% personal, 20% business. For my business page on Facebook, it's basically 100% business because it's all about business. So kind of depends on the platform. If you're unsure, I would say go with 50-50. Obviously you don't have to share every moment of your life, but sort of half personal, half business, I think is a good ratio.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in my 2 bits on that. I'm very focused on Instagram right now, and what I know is almost all of the big influencers that I follow, it's really every 24 to 48 hours that they're doing a regular post. And I say that because if you're like me, I literally forgot to post for a while. I just do stories all the time. So I've had to get myself back into the habit of an actual post.
Yes.
Because I love stories. I don't know. I think you either love them or you don't, right? Last question, because I know we have to go because she's one of my favorite people and I just want to answer a question. Sloan Hunter asked, she's got a bunch of agents that need to get on video. How does she get them comfortable getting on video? Should she have them start with stories because they're going to go away in 24 hours? Just what's that first step for all these people watching, Katie? This is your last question. What's that first step to get people to start video? I know we talked about it.
Oh boy. Gosh, I don't know if there's just one size fits all. I don't know if I, with Sloan, I don't recall if we've met personally. So if we have, I apologize. But if you aren't already, I would encourage you, any kind of broker or manager, part of it starts with making sure you're on video. I think that's a huge piece of it. I see a lot of brokers who are like, you got to do video, got to do video.
I bet you regret asking that question now, Sloan.
Exactly. Right. And but if you're not willing to walk the walk and talk the talk, honestly, that's kind of half of it right there. Getting yourself on, if you've got a private Facebook group just for your office, are you on there every week? Are you doing a Facebook Live every week? Are you getting on your own Facebook page? Are you getting on your own Instagram stories? Honestly, I really think that's half of it, is sort of leading by example. And of course your agents will see that. That's part of it. As far as actually having them get on camera. A great way to first start getting on camera is have them start by doing those one-to-one videos. So I would, maybe it's at a team meeting, maybe it's at a sales meeting, encourage people, hey, take out your phone. All right, we're going to take 5 minutes. Everybody's going to go to a different corner. I want you to take out your phone, record a 20-second video that you're going to send to someone that you love, your husband, your spouse, your kids, doesn't matter. And those sort of one-to-one videos where you're just starting, like, it's just that experience of like, how do I hold my phone? How do I actually look? Yeah. Like, that is a great place to start.
Yeah. Well, Katie, Lance, thank you so much. And I have great news for you guys all. Are you ready? Because I knew you'd love it. And you did love it. I can tell because of your engagement. Yay. 2 weeks from now, Katie's coming back, and it's all about free stuff we can do on social media to increase our business. Literally, you want to get on early, have your notepad ready, and take really amazing notes on that one, because it's going to be highly tactical on how to not pay for stuff that you get on social media. So that's important. So from the bottom of my heart, again, my name's Via Williams with Ben Kinney Companies. Ben and I and everyone at BKCO thanks you once again for joining us on our Wednesday webinar. We will see you next Wednesday at noon PST for our power panel on everything about buyer consults. See you next week, guys. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.